I'm going to show you how you can take anything with an audio input and turn it into a device that you can use to cast Bluetooth audio to. Here I have just a cheap $5 Bluetooth speaker. I'm going to take the electronics out of it and hook them up to my home stereo so I can cast Bluetooth music to that, which sounds a whole heck of a lot better than this little speaker. I'm going to start off by removing these little rubber feet from the bottom of it to expose the screws that are underneath them. I'm going to use a little miniature screwdriver that you can pick up in a set from like the Dollar Tree or anywhere like that. They're pretty cheap. And I'm going to take all the screws out of the bottom that are holding this thing together. Now that I have it apart, you can see the electronics of the Bluetooth that are attached to the bottom of this, as well as the rechargeable battery. Now I'm going to cut the wires coming from the electronics, but I'm going to cut them close to the speaker so I have a couple inches of wire left over to work with. Next, I'm going to strip off about an inch of the insulation from each of the wires, but apparently these wires are too small for my wire strippers, so I'm just going to strip off the insulation with my teeth, caveman style. Since I want to hook this up to my home stereo, I'm going to be using RCA jacks to hook to these wires so I can plug it into the inputs on the back of my stereo's head unit. But you could just as easily hook this up to a 1/8 inch plug or 1/4 inch, just depending on what the input of the device you're going to be hooking it up to has. Now I'm going to separate the left and right cables just by pulling them apart down the middle, and I want to give myself a fairly long length of cable to work with because I would rather it be too long than too short. Now I'm stripping away the outer insulation from the cable to expose the wires inside. The wires that are exposed after removing the outer black insulation are going to be the ground wires. The center wire that is white has its own insulation, and that will be the positive wire. And once again, it's too small for my wire strippers, so back to the old incisors. Repeat the wire stripping process for the other cable. Although this speaker is just a mono signal, I still want to use the left and right cables, so at least the audio will be coming out of the left and right speakers. Now twist both ground wires together and both positive wires together, making sure that there aren't any stray strands sticking out. Now I'm going to cut 2 lengths of small diameter shrink tubing and slide those over the wires coming from the Bluetooth electronics. Now I'm going to take a larger diameter section of shrink tubing and slide that over both sets of wires that are my RCA jacks. You may need to twist all of the wires together to get it to go through the shrink tubing. Now I'm going to take both sets of ground wires and attach those to the black wire coming from the Bluetooth, and take both sets of positive wires and attach those to the red wire coming from the Bluetooth. I'm just going to twist everything together, end to end and not parallel. Now, to keep this process as absolutely as simple as possible, I'm not even going to use solder to hold the wires together. I'm actually going to use Fix-All super glue, also purchased from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to put a little piece of paper underneath the exposed wires where I'm working, so I'm not going to drip any glue on my table. My wife would kill me. Now I'm just going to put globs of glue all over the exposed wires and then go over it with a toothpick afterward, just to kind of work the glue into the actual strands of wire themselves. Once I've glued both sets of wires, I'm going to take the shrink tubing and pull it over the exposed wire. Now I'm just going to let the glue set up for just about 15 or 20 minutes or so. Now that the glue has had time to set up, I'm going to use a lighter to heat up the shrink tubing so that it will shrink down tightly over the wires. Next, I'm going to take the larger diameter piece of shrink tubing and slide that over the entire section where everything is joined together. And once again, use the lighter to heat it up so it shrinks down nice and tight over everything that's joined. Next, I'm not so gracefully going to remove a little piece of plastic from the case of this Bluetooth speaker so that when it goes back together, there's room for these new wires to come out. Now I'm going to put the top and bottom sections back together, making sure I'm extra careful not to pinch any wires when it goes together and I put the screws back in. So there you have it. It's not exactly super pretty, but it is extremely cheap, and most importantly, is it going to work? I've got it hooked up to my home stereo, so now I'm going to switch it on, and then I will bring up some quality YouTube programming and see if the audio comes out of the home stereo or not.
Stop spending a fortune on store-bought beer. Become a home brewer and do it yourself. It's easy.
And success. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it the old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, until next time, do it right, do it well, do it yourself.